Perfectly fine.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Welcome to Dodgers Dogs, a special edition as we talk about the Jacob Amaya trade. The Dodgers send Jacob Amaya to the Miami Marlins for Miguel Rojas. It was something that I don't think any of us saw coming, and I think it's something that, as Dodgers fans, especially Dodgers fans who cover minor league prospects, especially like me, I cover them a lot, but you're kind of going, interesting scenario here. So Chase, as we bring you in, give us your initial thoughts.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised that it happened. And I was a fan of Jacob Amaya, but you look at what they're doing. They're bringing in a guy that's a seasoned vet that has had experience with the Dodgers before, so he knows the standard that comes with that. He knows what he needs to uphold. He knows everything, all the ins and outs. And I think it's a good thing to add a veteran. But at the same time, I was excited about the young guys too. So I'm curious to see, what happens with Michael Bush, what happens with Gavin Lux, what happens with Miguel Vargas, what happens with all these young guys that we thought, had for sure starting positions up until tonight.
Yep, no doubt about it. Okay, so Miguel Vargas definitely brings the experience. The Dodgers love adding veterans to the roster. They had Hanser Alberto last year. I think normally Miguel Rojas would probably be a depth piece, being 33 years old. He did not have a good year offensively last year, but he did have a great year defensively. As a matter of fact, 987 fielding percentage. He has always been a very, very top shelf defender. And I'll tell you what, Chase, as you look at Miguel Rojas, I'm going to say Miguel Vargas 1,000 times, whatever. So if I do that, go ahead and just correct me and tell me to stop doing that. But if you look at his offense, Miguel Rojas did not have a good season last year. As a matter of fact, he hit 236. His OPS was 606. But as recently as 2020, which was just 2 years ago, he had a very good season. Now, I know 2020 was cut short with the COVID, and it's a shortened season, but he hit 304 in 2020. His OPS was 888. Last year wasn't bad at all either for him. 265 OPS, a 714. And then going back to 2019, 284, 2018, 252, 2017, 290, and the OPSs, have been anywhere from mid sixes to mid sevens. So Miguel Rojas, not just an unbelievably, just dominating offensive player in the past and did not have a good offensive year last year, but it's always been very good defensively, and he's veteran, and he's a position that Dodgers fans were really worried about.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But I look at him. If you look at his stat line, it's not super impressive in terms of his batting average and things like that. Home runs obviously don't blow you off the charts. But he's kind of a guy that I like to watch offensively. He's a guy that's.
Hey, before you move on, Tamale, thank you for the comment. Hey, this is live, so hey, fans, please leave your comments. We would love to cover your comments, your questions, whatever you have on the air. So go ahead, please leave your comments. I know Fernando, sorry, Chase, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but we want this to be a fan-driven show. Fernando, aren't you essentially getting the same thing both defensively and offensively? Only Amaya is younger and cheaper. I will say this, that first of all, Miguel and I'm a huge Jacob Amaya fan. This is the question Dodgers fans have. You're getting basically the same player, but Amaya is 9 years younger. So why would you do this? Well, one, major league experience. You can't replace that. And to be honest with you, as good of defensively as Jacob Amaya has been, Miguel Rojas has been a better defender at the major league level than, from statistically speaking, than Amaya has been at the AAA level. And like I said, just recently, as 2022 years ago, he had a very good season, hitting over 300 in major leagues. So I'm going to get into a little bit more of that, Fernando, here in a minute as to some reasons why I think the Dodgers actually got into this and actually made this deal. And I don't think it's as simple as saying, hey, is Miguel Rojas better than Jacob Amaya? I think there's some other reasons to that. But Chase, with that, sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead and finish your point.
Yeah, and you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. He brings a lot of experience. And it's experience is a thing. We've talked about if you guys have watched our show before, we've talked about how big experience is. And you know how we're very excited about prospects and young guys. You know, but it's hard to beat a guy that's, you know, been in the big league since 2014.
Yeah.
And you know, and
And
I
remember, he made the play that upheld or kept the Clayton Kershaw no going in 14 too. So
that's right.
Dodgers fans have fond memories of him.
A very impressive backhand at third
Yeah.
base with a very impressive arm and a throw across the.
You remember that
the
play, huh?
I do very well.
Oh man, I thought I had something on you right there. I guess I didn't.
You know, and like I said, his numbers don't blow you off the charts. You know, he and offensively, you know, he doesn't have a super high batting average, and obviously his home runs. I think he had 6 last year.
Yeah.
So it's not a big, it's not a super impressive stat line. But I personally, I like to watch him
offensively. His defensive stat line is off the charts impressive, but yeah.
Correct. He reminds me of Dansby Swanson, except a little less. I don't know how to put this. He's not as good offensively as Dansby Swanson.
Hasn't been recently, yes.
Correct.
Doesn't have the thump.
He's the guy that I like to watch. You know, he's a gap to gap guy. He's the guy that just gets base hits. He doesn't have to hit. He doesn't have to hit wall bangers. He does a lot of really, really good things.
Yeah. Okay. Tomatley asked a great question or made a great point. To me, it just says to all the incoming prospects, you're on a short leash, which in my opinion is not what the next season should be about. That is a great point. Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate there, Tomatley. And, you know, him and I have, we have discussed back and forth. Boy, he has a great baseball mind. That is a great point. Let me throw this out there just from a devil's advocate perspective, okay? I think this decision came down to 2 guys, Jacob Amaya, Michael Busch. They're both guys that need major league playing time, and they're both guys that need that playing time next year. They're both of those guys are wasting their time in AAA. They've done everything they can in AAA. They need to be in the major leagues next year. So here's the deal. The way the Dodgers roster was constructed, there was no way to get both of those guys Major League Baseball time with the Dodgers next year. Would you agree with that, Chase?
I would agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one scenario. You know, Rojas kind of becomes a defensive infielding utility guy that squarely makes either Trace Thompson and or Chris Taylor your 4th outfielder. Okay. So let's say that, you know, this doesn't have to mean that Rojas is being brought over to be your everyday shortstop. Let's say that Gavin Lux still becomes your shortstop every day. Okay. And the way that the path that would happen is if Michael Busch comes out in spring training and just starts mashing the baseball, correct? Okay. Then the Dodgers can still put Gavin Lux at shortstop every day. That opens the path up for Michael Busch to be the everyday second baseman, and then allows you to have Miguel Rojas be that guy that can kind of be that veteran, late inning defensive substitution guy, the utility guy that you can kind of move around and be a very valuable asset from that perspective. So I think part of the reason why the Dodgers moved Jacob Amaya was to open the path for Michael Busch, of which that excites me. Would you agree with that? Am I off too conspiratorial? Hey, I would love to hear the fans' thoughts and comments on that, on my thought there. So is that too conspiratorial for you, Chase?
I wouldn't. I mean, I really don't think so. You know, we talked about this kind of situation with Justin Turner in terms of wanting him to be around to mentor Miguel Vargas, you know, at the 3 bag, and you know, that could be another situation that, I mean, like I said, he's been in the league since 2014, and he knows prior to this what it's like to be a Dodger and what it's like to, you know, uphold the standard, if you will. So even bringing him in to mentor guys like Gavin Lux or Michael Busch
or Miguel Vargas III.
Miguel Vargas. Yeah, exactly. You know, and who's to say, and I don't, obviously I don't hope this. It's definitely not a bad thing to have multiple good infielders. You know, injuries happen. Guys go into slumps, you know, and with a guy that's a seasoned veteran that can play, you know, in my opinion, he can play third, he can play short, he can play second. You know, he can fill really any infield spot you need him to fill. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. That's another positive to look at.
Yeah, and just kind of my point is here, the way it was looking, okay, one of the two between Jacob Amaya and or Michael Busch, was going to have to get dealt. They just were, because there just wasn't, when you look at Miguel Vargas, who can play second base and third base. Max Muncy can play second base and third base. Gavin Lux can play second base. So there just wasn't a path for both Jacob Amaya. Well, I'll say this. There wasn't a path for Jacob Amaya, Gavin Lux, and Michael Busch all to get the playing time they needed. So I am with you, Austin. Austin Brubaker, one of our great fans here. Boy, one of the best Great Lakes fans out there, absolutely, and just a terrific baseball mind. He says that he totally agrees with this decision. He loves Amaya's style of play, which we all do. I totally agree with that. Would love for him to be on the Dodgers, but I think he gets a better opportunity for Miami. For that, I'm happy for him. Let me say this. We are prospects huggers in some scenarios, in the sense that, we will defend our prospects to the nth degree. You know that about me, and you as well, because we get to see them. We know how good they are. Austin gets to see them up close and personal. He gets to see just how good they are. We will defend our prospects till the cows come home. Having said that, we don't necessarily want them to stay with the Dodgers. Our goal for every player that we get to cover and watch is for them to have the clearest path to the major leagues, and to get to the major leagues the fastest, and to stay there the longest. And if that's with another team, that's what we all want. So, hey, Austin, I could not agree with you more, and I'm going to say it again. There was no path for Jacob Amaya and Michael Busch both to get major league time on the Dodgers roster this year, the way the Dodgers roster was constructed, at least as much as they needed.
Yeah, 100% behind that. Jay Smooth, Amaya gets an opportunity to play at Miami now. That's a good point too. They just gave away their shortstop. So now, I don't know.
We're assuming they're bringing Amaya over to be their shortstop.
I don't know. I don't know Miami's prospects. I don't know what they have there, but I don't know why they would give away a veteran shortstop if they didn't have a plan for this prospect that they just
Amaya's their plan. I'll guarantee you that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they would, give away something and not be prepared for something else. So that's a really, really good point.
And when you look at trades, I don't think you can just look, okay, prospect versus, I think you have to look at needs. Sometimes you can get what some people may perceive as less value, but if it matches your needs, we see this at the college level recruiting a lot. A team will have a recruiting class that doesn't rank real high, but what you don't realize is they recruited like 11 offensive linemen, because that's what they needed on their roster, and offensive linemen don't rate real high with the stars. So, Miami, I think getting a young, very pizzazz-astic, if you will, a guy with a lot of pizzazz, and Jacob Amaya, a guy fans are going to fall in love with. They get a lot of value from that perspective. And I also think the Dodgers give Jacob Amaya the runway he needs. I agree with what people are saying here to get the playing time that he needed. Amaya gets playing time ASAP. I totally agree, Akeem. Going to have to rewatch this after dinner. Not sure how I feel about the trade, Orlando. Not real sure about that. But I think, if you look at it just from Jacob Amaya was a big-time prospect, same type of player. Why would you trade for a guy that's 9 years older when they're the same type players? I don't think you can look at it like that. I think you have to look at it, what did each team need? I think the Dodgers needed to move either Amaya or Busch. And then I think they needed defense at shortstop in case, if that's where they want to go with it. So I think both teams looked at it from a perspective of what do we need? I don't think they looked at it as far as the value each team's getting. Would that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah, 100%. I'm kind of with Orlando. I'm not sure how I feel about the trade, just because it stings a little. If you guys don't know, we're both Oklahoma guys, so we get to see these prospects play, firsthand up in Tulsa and down in Oklahoma City. So that's why it stings a little bit. But a part of me is really excited to see this veteran come in, and that's been like I keep saying, it's been a Dodger before. I think that plays a big role. It's a lot different than going to get a guy that hasn't been in the organization before. The Dodgers do things different, and I personally I like it. They do the right thing. They do the good thing. I think there's a lot of good to come from it.
like I said, I get pretty close to these guys. I've interviewed Jacob. I've talked to his high school coach. I've communicated with his dad. I'm pretty close to this situation, and Jacob, is somebody that I dearly love watching. Okay, and I dearly love the fact that he was a Dodger. But having said that, again, you get closer with these guys to wanting them to reach their goals, and I'm just so happy for Jacob that he's going to get a clear runway. And Tomatley is right on the button when he said, and this frustrated me about Ryan Pepio last year. I'm going to point blank say it. This frustrated me about Michael Grove last year, Andre Jackson, Mitch White. Man, the taxi squad stuff where you're just going back, Gavin Lux, where you're going back and forth. You don't know where you're going to be the next day. You don't know when your next start's going to have. Are you going to be in relief? Or with Andre Jackson, Mitch White, am I going to be in relief? Am I going to be start? Just that uncertainty. I'm just telling you, I see it. And they would never admit it, but I see it in Oklahoma City when I talk to them. I know it. It affects them, and it affects them negatively. And so, that was probably the path Jacob was going to be on with the Dodgers. Hey, here 1 week, here and that. Not going to be the path of Miami. He's going to be in the major leagues. Like Tomatley said, he's going to get the chance to have the runway, to get comfortable, and therefore that is a better situation for Jacob Amaya. And at the same time, I think you're also creating that same situation for Michael Busch to where he's not going to be on that taxi squad and just, I think he's going to get called up and called down and brought back and forth, but not at the crazy frenetic pace that it might have been. And I've been saying it all offseason. I know Tim Rogers has said it many times on our Dodgers Prospects podcast. Whatever you choose to do with these rookies, man, define their roles. Don't do to them what you did with Ryan Pepio. Don't do to them what you did with Mike. Now, don't get me wrong. They're not complaining. They like the major league paycheck. You're on a major league mound. But still, having said that, don't do to him what you did to Gavin Lux, where he's in the lineup one day, out of the lineup. You're moving him to a whole new spot. And I've actually communicated with Gavin, and one of his comments was, I don't think people realize that I had to learn how to play a whole new position at the major league level. That's not easy. So like I said, I've said it. Tim Rogers said it. It's been our theme. Whatever you do with these rookies, do it with them, okay? Tell them what the role is. Let them get comfortable, because if you look at all the core of younger players that built this latest Dodgers generation, the Cody Bellingers, the Corey Seagers, the Gavin Luxes, the Walker Buehlers, the Julio Uriases, and even going back to Kershaw, when they got brought up to L.A., Chase, guess what? They got to stay. They got the roles defined, they got to fail, and they didn't have to worry about failing and looking over their shoulder and wondering what was coming next. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And even for major leaguers, the guys that are supremely confident, that makes a huge difference.
It definitely does, and I can't say, and I'll come from a player's perspective because I wasn't in the game long ago. When you feel like you can play loose and not have to, worry about making a mistake or worrying about, if I miss a location or if I give up a home run, if I make an error, if I strike out, if you can go back to the dugout or do whatever and know that your job is safe, it is so much easier to turn back around and perform better in your next opportunity than it is when you feel like you're walking on eggshells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. So some more comments here. Crazy versatility from Akeem. The Dodgers love the versatility. We've talked about that. Again, I'm glad Akeem brought that point up, because again, this doesn't mean Miguel Rojas has to be your everyday shortstop, correct? This could mean that you still think Gavin Lux is your everyday shortstop. Now Rojas gives you that veteran presence that we wanted with, say, a Miguel Vargas and a Michael Busch that Justin Turner could have given him, right? That Max Muncy can give him. So I totally agree with you, Akeem. This gives you flexibility as far as, a path for Michael Busch. It gives you mentorship defensively. It gives you late game defense, and it gives you options to correct problems if you have them immediately. So like, let's say that Max Muncy's the third, Gavin Lux at short, Michael Busch at second. You've had 2 or 3 very bad defensive games. Guess what's going to happen? Miguel Rojas is going to shortstop or to second base or whatever, and you're putting a guy in that's going to correct all that, right? So I'm not saying that he may come and be the shortstop from day one and be the everyday shortstop. That may happen too, but I could also see a scenario where you kind of make him the guy that plugs all your gaps plugs all your holes and keeps everything from leaking, I think that would be a pretty valuable role. Am I off
Yeah,
there?
no, I think that it's definitely a benefit that he can fill, like I said, those three main infield positions if you ever need some help, or, if injuries happen, or, you need to send a guy, to rehab after having an injury. There's so many things that come into play. Um, and I just, I don't see how this could be a negative thing at all.
Yeah, again, Miguel Rojas, 982 fielding percentage. 987 fielding percentage. Last year, 2021, 977. 2020, 982. 2019, 977. Hey, folks, I mean, I love Jacob Amaya, don't get me wrong, okay? I want Jacob Amaya to be in the major leagues, though. I think, when I first saw it, I put on Twitter, hey, this is disappointing. And the reason is it's disappointing because you're losing Jacob Amaya, this and that. But this is a guy you're getting that's elite defensively. I don't know. I mean, am I giving Rojas too much credit? I mean,
when you field the ball almost 99% of the time without making an error, I think that speaks for itself, because unless you played the game, that is so stinking hard to do, especially with balls coming as hard as they are now, and things like that. I don't like to look at numbers to judge a player, but like I said, when you field the ball 99% of the time, it's near impossible to do that. It's very, very, very impressive when that does happen. Ben asked a good question. He said, "Does Rojas's offensive numbers improve with the shift ban?"
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm efforting right now. I'm going to get to some numbers here that's going to try to explain that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep talking, Chase.
Yeah, and then I'll just go ahead and read some more comments. Rojas did save Kershaw's no-hitter in 2014. We did talk about that. A really, really impressive backhand with a dart across the to save it.
Okay. Sorry, Chase. Don't mean to cut you off here, but all right, Miguel Rojas. This would go to who? I don't have it up right now. Can you give me the comment that who left the comment? Who was it?
It was Ben.
Okay, Ben. This is to go to your point. Pull percentage last year. Okay, this is last year from Miguel Rojas, a year that he hit, 236, something like that. His OPS numbers weren't good. Okay, but to go to your point, I think you're onto something here. I think the band shift could really help Miguel Rojas, and here's why. Okay, pull percentage last year, 34.5%. Center percentage, meaning he hit the ball up the middle, used the big part of the field, 34%. Oppo percentage, 31%. Okay, so when you can't overload one spot or another and you have to spread, so in other words, what the band shift's going to do, imagine it like in football, instead of having everybody all compacted in, you have 5 wide receivers. Now you've created space, right? Or like when a basketball team goes 5 out, what they're doing is they're trying to create space so now somebody can drive to the lane. Okay, by banning the shift, when you have a guy that is almost exactly the same, pulling the ball, going to right field, and hitting the ball up the middle, if you look at his numbers in 2021, almost the exact same. He has been very good at spraying. His what's called a spray chart have been very equal, from pulling it to going oppo to using the center field. Okay, I do think that a shift ban can help a hitter like that add to his average. Am I off?
No, I think you're exactly right. Kevin, he plays his primary, I think, is shortstop, but he does play third, and he can also play the second. He can also play the two bag. He's kind of a utility guy. And then another question. It says, not sure if someone mentioned this earlier, but Rojas is slated to make $4 to $5 million. I think this pushes us over.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is difficult. Okay, because everything's projection. As of right now, it looks like the Dodgers are just under, which we talked about. Hey, with that 50-game pay cut from Trevor Bauer, and then that putting the Dodgers just under that collective tax number, that's either the largest coincidence in the history of the world, or that actually was worked out intentionally by the arbitrator to keep the Dodgers under the luxury tax, which is the most likely scenario. Okay, so but here's the deal: you still have arbitration cases with Scott Boras clients, right? Okay, and then you have like for instance, Noah Syndergaard has a $1.5 million incentive that, as a Dodger fan, if you're going to win a World Series, he needs to hit. So if you're going to win the World Series and you're going to win your division and do all that, Noah Syndergaard is going to hit that incentive anyways, and you're going to go over. Okay, so at that point, the luxury to I think the Dodgers more than likely, after incentives and uh, after arbitration cases, we're probably going over anyways. And I know they're going over if Noah Syndergaard has a good season, okay, and meets his incentives. So yes, that would put the Dodgers over the cap, but I think they're going over anyways. And I'm almost positive they're going over if they have a good season.
Yeah, yeah, and
right.
I and I don't hope this financially, but I do hope they go over because that means Noah Syndergaard had a good year. And that's definitely going to be a key role in how successful the Dodgers are going into the season. James, to be honest, I don't know if I like this because I truly believe in Gavin Lux. We saw the bat last summer, here now. All we need is to comfy defensively. Lux is my shortstop. Okay, so we talked about this just a little bit earlier, James. I don't know necessarily if that's I don't know if they're kicking Lux out of that shortstop spot.
Doesn't have to mean that. It means that Rojas can be your utility guy.
Right. Meaning that he can play third, he can play short, he can play second.
He played some first base. The two positions he played last year were shortstop and second. In 2021, every one of his games was at shortstop. 2020, he played both second base and third base. So in the last 3 years, he's played shortstop, third base, and first base. And I don't see it. I said second base, 2019, he played some second base. So he's played every position on the infield, including first base, since 2019.
Yeah.
Mainly shortstop, though.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they do, let him play shortstop and they move Gavin Lux to second.
Yeah.
We've seen him be successful there too, and we were talking about offensively how good Gavin Lux has shown to be. I think that
you're talking about an everyday basis.
I would.
Then you're talking about Michael Busch. I mean, there's the whole complicated, which is why I think the Jacob Amaya trade had to happen. Either Amaya or Busch get dealt because there just was too much of a logjam. And again, Jacob Amaya and or Michael Busch, neither one of them needed to be in AAA at all next year.
Right. It's a hard situation. I don't see how you can take Gavin Lux out of the lineup.
No, he's not coming out. He's either at short or at second.
Right. So then you wonder where's Rojas going to be? I think you could see him some at third, but then it hurts Miguel Vargas. But then you could put Miguel Vargas in left field.
Where are you going to put Max Muncy?
I don't know.
But see your smile right there is exactly why this trade had to happen. Because with all the scenarios that we're talking about, and you kind of, how do you get this guy? Okay, now add Jacob Amaya to that equation, and it becomes infinitely more difficult, I should say. I actually did take English class in high school. More harder is not the way you say that. Okay, so somebody had to go. There were just simply too many numbers, and the hardcore business aspect of this is that I can tell you right now, I talked to the players. They are told on a daily basis, when you take the field for your team at the minor league level, you are auditioning for all 30 teams, not just the Dodgers.
Absolutely. We've talked about having relationships, you especially with these younger guys, and if they're succeeding and they can achieve their dreams elsewhere, meaning Jacob Amaya,
I'm all for it.
Absolutely. And these guys, I'm sure that they may or may not have loved their time with the Dodgers. Hopefully they did love it. And it seems like he's one of the guys that did. But he's going to love it that much more when he's getting paid good money, when he's going to be playing on a daily basis in big stadiums with big guys, big time names. He's going. I think he has potential to be the face of the franchise down in Miami. Maybe not this year, but definitely in the future. If you've seen him play nothing short of impressive. So I wish him.
Isn't Jeter their owner?
Is he?
Hey, somebody leave me a comment. Is Derek Jeter the owner of the Miami? Is it Miami Marlins or Florida Marlins?
Yeah.
Marlins. That should tell you how much I've kept up. Somebody leave a comment. Is Derek Jeter still the owner, or is it? It was either Tampa Bay or Miami. I think it's Miami though, isn't it?
I don't know. There was speculation, some speculation of both. Maybe. I know it's one of the teams in Florida.
We need a comment. Somebody set us straight on that. We don't know who I don't know who Derek Jeter is. We had a baseball play named after him, but I don't know who the owner is. What team does Derek Jeter own?
Mr. Classic said Lux has the bat, Rojas has the defense. Agree 100%. But also Lux can play defense really well. So what about Vargas? Honestly, I think he might be the biggest surprise in 2023.
Yeah,
I'm on that. I'm on board with that too. I think a lot of the pitchers are going to surprise you too. If you've watched any of our past podcasts that we've posted here recently, especially, we're talking about a lot of pitching. Personally, I'm a pitching guy, and it gets me excited. So I think Vargas is going to be a big surprise.
Yeah.
And I think that we were talking about a potential 6th spot due to Noah Syndergaard coming off Tommy John, Dustin May coming off Tommy John, Clayton Kershaw getting older.
Maybe not just a proclaimed, hey, we're going to have a 6-man rotation, but there will be, a 6-man rotation throughout periods of the year. Yeah.
Right. And like I said before, I don't think that there's.
Hold on 1 second, Chase. Yeah, I thank you for Eddie. Eddie Romero, thank you for your comments. It was the Marlins, but yes, he has left. He stepped down as a CEO.
Okay.
Thank you also, Soul Bro.
Yeah. So anyway, shoot, I forgot what I was on. I was on a roll.
Yeah. You were talking about the 6-man rotation and that 6th spot.
That's right. So like I've said before, I don't think that there's going to be a defined 6th spot, but I do think you are going to see a lot of first-time guys and a lot of guys coming up and going up and down from AAA. I think that you can also see them coming out of the bullpen. I think they're going to do whatever they can to get those guys experience too, because if you've gotten to watch a lot of them, Bobby Miller being my favorite guy, if you've gotten to watch any of these guys, that they don't mess around and they're impressive guys. So I think they're going to do whatever they can to get them that big league experience.
I believe the Bauer deadline is Friday, but because I think they had 7 days. Whenever you DFA a guy, let's go through that again. Okay, so you DFA a guy because that gives you 7 days to trade him. If you can't find a trade, then they go to waivers. That means each team has a chance to pick him up. You start with the worst record. The team with the worst record gets the first shot at him. You work your way back up. Nobody's going to pick up Trevor Bauer because if they do, through waivers, they're going to have to pick up the entire $22.5 million. So nobody's going to do that, okay? But so what's going to happen at the end of that, then he's going to be outrighted to the minors, of which since he has 3 years of service time, he will decline that assignment. He will become a free agent. The question is, will anybody pick him up at free agency? If you want to pick him up at free agency, then you need to pick up the phone and call the Dodgers. Tell them how much you're willing to pay for him in free agency and make just a straight-up money trade with the Dodgers and say, hey, will you give us Trevor Bauer for, say, $720,000? That's what needs to happen. Of course, Trevor Bauer does have his no-trade clauses are weird. It's certain American League teams that he can decline. I can't get into all those details. It's kind of weird, but, yeah.
I was going through the comments and reading while you were saying that. Jason Booth said, this is the year for our young studs to showcase the talent at the major league level. I'm excited for Vargas and Outman, us too. If you've watched some of our videos, we've talked in depth about these guys. We break down film, a lot of good stuff. If you guys want to go check those out, if you haven't already. Let's see.
Hey Chase, let's go ahead and reconnect, and that'll give us a whole new. We've got about 2 minutes left on this connection. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect with you right here and send that back to you. Hop right back on when you get a chance, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to end this, and we're going to reconnect here in just a second. Do you mind doing that?
Nope, let's do it.
Okay. Starting a new meeting right here. Hang with me for about a minute and a half here. If you want to donate to Dodgers Daily, I could get I could get the corporate plan to where I wouldn't have to reconnect like this. We're going to reconnect just a second. Keep leaving your comments. This has been fantastic with the comment page. Chase will be rejoining us here in just a second. So just hang with me and we will finish our conversation about the Jacob Amaya trade. Okay, their descent. Chase should be on here in just a second. So, okay, Marv, I know, just left a comment. Do you still think the Dodgers believe in Lux at shortstop? We've covered that. And honestly, Marv, I think this could be a scenario to where I think they're opening up a path. Let me put it to you this way. I think this might, what we've talked about, this might be opening a path for Michael Busch, and the path for that would be Gavin Lux becomes your everyday shortstop. Miguel Rojas becomes your utility guy. He plays some third base. He plays some shortstop. He plays some second base. He plays some first base whenever you need him, and that opens up a path for Michael Busch to become your everyday second baseman. Okay, so if you put Rojas at second base, then you're blocking if you put Rojas and you make him your everyday shortstop, that blocks. Here's Chase right here. We're going to get him back in, and we're going to get after it one more time. Chase, welcome back to the show. Turn your phone sideways there if you don't mind, and we'll get after it again. So I do think there's a scenario to where possibly Gavin Lux still is your everyday shortstop, and that puts Michael Busch at second base, and Miguel Rojas then becomes your utility guy. But who knows? I mean, we'll see how that works. So to answer your question, Marv, I do still think that this could mean that Gavin Lux is your primary shortstop. Doesn't mean that's going to be the case, but certainly could be. No audio, Chase. No audio, Chase. We don't have your audio.
About now.
There you go. Got you now. Okay, so Dodgers don't make any trades, and then when they finally do, it's a dumb one. I love just, the different ideas, and we've been in the war room, the coaches' rooms, where everybody gives their ideas, and so we've kind of talked about our thoughts on why it happened. So, all right, Chase, as you reconnect, where are you at here?
Yeah, man. That funny comment, by the way. I love that.
That's awesome.
Still think the Dodgers believe in Lux at shortstop 100%. I think that they are going to play him there. I think they're going to play him at second base, and I think they're going to do a lot. I think they're going to do a lot with a lot of guys. And I don't know.
Here's another scenario. Gavin Lux and Michael Busch are both left-handed, right? So there's no way you can platoon them. I mean, that's not a platoon scenario.
Right.
And Gavin Lux is not going to play third base. No. I've seen that. That's not going to happen. So, boy, it's going to be interesting. If Miguel Rojas becomes your everyday shortstop, okay, I'm going to ask again and leave a comment. What do you do with Michael Busch? The guy hits too well to not be in the major leagues next year.
Yeah. I mean, do you see them putting him in left a little bit? He's played there before.
I see Max Muncy playing third base and Miguel Vargas playing left.
Okay.
I still see a logjam. I mean, do you kind of get where I'm going right here as far as I still think there's a path to where Rojas becomes your Alberto type guy, and maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Personally, and this is gonna I might light the comments up, but that's okay. I don't know how I feel about Max Muncy.
Yeah.
I really don't. Offensively, last year, I mean, he didn't figure it out until, what was it, July?
Yeah. Of course, you got to remember he was coming off of a pretty serious injury, man. I mean,
right. No, I get that. I just, man, I don't know. And I'm a fan of anybody that wears a Dodgers uniform. I'm a fan of Max Muncy.
You don't like the way that he grinds pitch counts and works pitchers even when he's not getting hits?
I do. From a pitcher's perspective, heck no. I hate that. I hate it when batters do that. Because
James reacts same.
When they did it to me, it pissed me off.
Yeah, to Motley. Not to be a cynic, but there is no cynicism here. Hey, we consider this show and these segments like, you and I have been in the same coach's room to where I wouldn't say it gets heated, but everybody definitely gets their opinion out, right? And at the end of the day, the head guy makes a decision and you move on and everybody just has to do its best, So, no, there is no such thing as being a cynic. Hey, get your thoughts out. Let's all hash this out. We're mature enough to to all be Dodgers. As you said, we're all Dodgers fans. We can all deal with this. But nightmare scenario of Muncy at third base, Rojas at short, Turner at second base, and Doc trotting it out every other day. Turner at second base. Turner.
Turner's
I
gone.
think that might be a Tamale. Is that a misprint? Did you misprint Turner there? Or maybe I'm reading that wrong. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Dodgers have a luxury tax issue. It's hard to do anything. Okay, we've covered that, Mr. Classic. The Dodgers, as of right now, it appears, of course, everything's a projection, just under the tax. But if Noah Syndergaard hits his incentive and Scott Boras cases, if a lot of the the arbitration cases don't go exactly the Dodgers' way, they're going over anyways. So if the Dodgers are going to have a good season, if Noah Syndergaard's going to have a good season, they're going over the luxury tax anyways. And now with Miguel Rojas coming in, replacing Jacob Amaya's salary, I think that's pretty much the cat out of the bag. You're going over.
Yeah, he meant Taylor. He came back and said he meant Taylor.
Okay, yes.
Makes sense now. I was like, I do wish Turner was still here, but that would have. I don't know if we would have been live if he was.
Yeah. Taylor's value squarely on he's able to plug holes. His value, and I saw him play shortstop in Oklahoma City in whatever it was, 15 whenever he came, or 16 some whatever year he came to the Dodgers, and he's very good there, but he swings and misses too much, and so from my opinion, I think his value is that he can come up with big hits and then plug several defensive holes with one guy.
Yeah. I like the move, depth piece. We have enough rookies playing next year. He was an expendable for a depth piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the Dodgers doing, Muncy?
Hey, Jason, I am right there with you, brother. And I've said this many different times. I've said it a couple times on this show. I am big on these prospects. I get to talk to them. I get to know their families. I get to know their moms. I get to know their dads, their brothers, their sisters, their fiancés. It's just a fantastic opportunity for me, and I just appreciate it every second I get to do it. Having said that, I love the Dodgers, but I want all these players to get, like when Ryan Noda got taken in the Rule 5 draft. Yes, it sucks he's not with the Dodgers, but hey, this gets into the major leagues faster. That's the kind of fan I am. I want each player, and as much as I love Jacob Amaya, I'm so excited that he has a clearer path to the major leagues, and for that I am 100% excited. And I would never let my Dodgers, my love for the Dodgers, get in the way of being happy for somebody getting their chance to make the major leagues. Does that make sense, Chase?
Yeah, absolutely. Marv asked, what do the Dodgers do with Muncy? I think you're going to see him in multiple roles this year. Yeah. Second base, third base. There's a lot of things that they can do with a lot of these guys.
This is smelling like Miguel Vargas in left field to me.
It really does. And
it is, isn't it?
Do you think that they potentially see that's where he's going to be in the future?
I don't think they're thinking like that, man. I think it's the exact opposite, Chase. I think they're thinking, you've said it a million times, how can we get Miguel Vargas 500 major league at bats? I think that's how they're thinking.
That's fair. I'm just asking because I've seen him play left field in Oklahoma City. He does it at a very high and good. He's a very high level baseball player. Yeah. So I think that wherever they put him, he's going to be successful. Jay Smooth, do the Dodgers make any other moves? Great question. And then Fernando follows up with, looks like Brian Reynolds trade might still be in play. Would you be okay with Outman being traded in that deal? I want to see Outman. I would rather have Outman than Brian Reynolds, and I know how good of a player Brian Reynolds is.
Straight up, or are you talking about if you have to deal prospects as well? Because they're not going to trade James Outman for Brian Reynolds straight up. It's going to be James Outman and Bobby Miller, something like that for Brian Reynolds. So you're not in favor of that type of scenario.
No, I'm not. I would, like I said, I have a lot of trust and a lot of faith in James Outman, and nor do I want to see any of those other big name guys go. Because Brian Reynolds, that's going to be a heavy trade, and I don't see how they could do it. And it make a lot of sense, at least to us, especially with how high quality James Outman is.
Yep, no doubt. And again, I've done several features on James. I've talked to him 2 different times. You will not find a bigger fan of James Outman. Fantastic defensive player. His offense was off the charts last year. He got his strikeout rate, which is high, but he did get it down to 25%, which is the lowest since his first year in 2018. I don't think he needs to go any higher than that. I think if he can stay around 25%, hit the 25 to 30 home runs, I think he can be a 20-20 guy, possibly a 30-30 guy, and be a top shelf defender. That's the potential he has. The other side potential he has also is that he could go back up and bump around 32, 33% strikeout rate again, right? And just be a utility guy like Chris Taylor because he strikes out too much, and be that guy as well, right? I mean, so there's 2 different ways you can go on James Outman. Just being real with it, and that's up to James, And I mean, right? I mean, I hope that doesn't sound too critical, but again, talk to James. He said, hey, the biggest part of this is just keeping your down times to a minimum, and he did a good job of that last year.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, keep filling in these comments. We're getting behind, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, forget I want to hear let's shut up and read some comments here.
We want to hear y'all for sure. Jason said, not done. I'm certain. Just doesn't feel like a Dodgers roster going into the season. Jason, I agree and I don't agree. I agree because if you've watched our podcast before, I've mentioned how spoiled we've been and how lucky we've been to have a lot of these really, really good veteran players. But the prospects are really exciting. And there's a lot of potential and a lot of upside. I do get where you're coming from, though.
Yep. Okay, let me say this. Let me answer it this way. My biggest complaint about last year is the complacency in the dugout. When you have veteran leadership, I think it's great, but I also think sometimes it gets stale. Are you following what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
And I don't think there was the amount. When you have young guys, they're just always full of vinegar and fire, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think the way you're constructing it this year with Vargas and Bush, and then you're mixing them with the Freemans and Mookie Bettses. Then you have the guys that are kind of in the middle of that with Gavin Lux and Will Smith. I think you're constructing a roster that has a little bit of everything in terms of youth and then experience and guys that are kind of a little bit of both. So from that perspective, I think that's a great roster build.
Yeah, I do too. And I this is another thing that we talked about in our videos. When you mix, and I'm not, when you mix young with old, and you have these guys that are coming in that are nothing but hungry and nothing but excited to be on that big stage when they've worked literally their entire life and their entire career to get to where they're at. I think that lights a fire not only under them but under those veteran guys. Because the veteran guys want to see the young guys succeed. And I mean, it's fun to watch. I love watching AAA baseball and AA baseball because of how excited and how excited they get and how much emotion they play with. If they bring that to an LA dugout with these older guys, I think those other older guys might find a new gear. I think
a new lease on life.
Yeah, absolutely. It might help them feel young again. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for the young guys coming up and getting opportunities. Dang, we're falling really behind now.
Fernando, I agree with you. You need young players that are hungry. I agree with that mix you're talking about. To Motley, yes, that young, hungry blood is what makes this upcoming season exciting. Emotional return to the dugout. That is something I think, I don't like to be critical because baseball has so many variables. I've been in so many big games, and I know from the bench you don't control most of them. Gary Ward, one of the best college baseball coaches ever, will tell you about 98% of all of your coaching, if it's not done before the game starts, you're not doing your job in practice, correct? So I'm very hesitant to be critical of managers during games because of that perspective. Okay, so the one thing that I would be critical about the dugout last year's, I just think it was just kind of, well, today's the same as yesterday. And I think that's good in the long run of things over 6 months because you don't have highs and lows. But I think, like you said just a minute ago, I think if anything I would have changed, it would have been to add more fire to the dugout. Put the fire in the belly.
It said Ghost of Jack, Bush in left field with Vargas at third base. Muncie's favorite position is second. Need Rojas late in the game.
And see, that puts that's the same scenario, whether it's Bush at second or Bush in left. That puts Gavin Lux at shortstop. See, I mean, there's another guy thinking the same that I am. That doesn't necessarily mean Rojas is being brought in to be the everyday shortstop. That means Gavin Lux still could be. Rojas is an insurance guy, right? A defensive substitution. I love that thought. That is who was that, Mr. Classic? Is that who said that?
That was Ghost of Jack.
Ghost of Jack Fimple? That's a fantastic comment, by the way. I love that comment.
Mr. Classic said that we need to bolster the pitching rotation. Pablo Lopez would have been sweet.
Yeah. At the expense of which prospects? That'd be before I answer that question, I would have to know what prospects would you be willing to give up to get a Pablo Lopez type guy. So, I mean, I don't think that question can be answered until you know that part of it. Moving Will Smith to third base. I think that's going to happen. I think that's a great comment, DB Grainer. I think that's at least 2 years away. You got to remember, Diego Cartaya didn't play in 2020 because of COVID. 2021, he played 34 games because he was injured. This last season, he played 94. And if you look at his last 2 months, he struggled down the stretch because of fatigue. He's a long ways away from the major leagues. It's not going to be anywhere close to next year. If it's in 2024, I would be surprised. I think, maybe the end of 2024, but that would be the soonest that you would look at that scenario. But I do think that is a definite future possibility for the Dodgers.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with you, Frankie. Cartaya nowhere near ready. I just explained that there. Not sure how a cap reset happens unless we're moving. TB, hope this signals another pending. Hey, good point there, Jason. This could, of course, the Dodgers have till Friday to trade Bauer. This could mean that they have a trade work for him. But if Trevor Bauer doesn't get traded, Dodgers are over the cap. That's going to happen.
What do you guys think about moving? Oh, you read that. I'm sorry.
Roy Estrada. Go ahead and read his there.
How about pushing the Brewers for a Adame and Burns trade?
Yeah, again, I would have to know what prospects you're willing to part with. Are you wanting to part with Bobby Miller and Gavin Stone? Not me.
No.
I'm not. So the trade scenarios. Hey, would you trade for? You got to be able to answer that. Okay, who are we giving up? That's who you got to know, because, again, it's not always, hey, when you look at these trade scenarios, it's always you look at the value numbers. That's not necessarily how people do trades. The way they do trades is you have a need, I have a need. If we can both meet each other's needs, then the trade is worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Fernando's with us.
Yeah. Fernando's on fire, man. He's led some good comments.
There is some good stuff. You guys keep them spilling in. I think we finally caught up with you. So
I love DB Grainer's thoughts there about Will Smith. That's been discussed many times, and I do think that's going to happen in the future, though.
Yeah.
This is going to be an exciting season. Roy Estrada says we are going to beat the overspending Madres with our young prospects. Go Blue. Love it. Miller, Stone, and Cartaya are off limits. Yes, 100%. Sir, Fernando.
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose Pepio either. There are so many guys on the mound I don't want to lose. Let's keep them all. Keep them all.
Yeah. The only reason Cartaya ever would be considered, of course, I think you could have said that about Keibert Ruiz 2 or 3 years ago. But, again, Will Smith and Keibert Ruiz, if you follow their progressions, they played on the same teams a lot. Keibert Ruiz was always just a step behind Will Smith. Will Smith took the reins and ran with it, and that blocked Keibert Ruiz, which made the trade likely and a good trade with the Nats, and that's why that made sense. So, okay, the only thing that you could argue there is the Dodgers have insane depth at catcher. And Dalton Rushing, that dude's an absolute rock star. So how are you going to get Dalton Rushing and Diego Cartaya, both complete rock stars, both catching positions, right? So if you were to make a case that Cartaya might be dealt someday, I think the name you would say would be Diego Cartaya, or no, excuse me, would be Dalton Rushing, because he becomes your everyday catcher. Not saying that's even likely, but that would be the only scenario that would be even thought of.
There was a question on here. How far off is Pages 2024, 2025? I could see 2025.
Yeah. Pages had a down year last year. I can tell you this. Okay. In 2021, when he led all of the Dodgers minor leagues in home runs, when he hit 31, okay, he hit over twice as many fly balls as he did ground balls. At the beginning of 2022, his ground ball fly ball ratio was like 50-50 for like 2 months, and he was hitting like $190. Okay. So then he started hitting more fly balls. Then the average started shooting up. So I think there was a little bit of, hey, can we kind of balance this out to not hit quite as many fly balls? I don't know that for a fact. Maybe that was just a coincidence. But Pages got back to his game. Massive, massive power. He's a right fielder. Massive, massive arm. He's going, he finished last year in Double-A. He's going to start in Oklahoma City, you would assume. Okay, and Mookie Betts is in right field. James Outman's going to get every chance before he does. And then you have Trace Thompson and Chris Taylor. So Pages, I think it would be definitely an upset if he made the major leagues next year in 2023. Not impossible, not probable though, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. And then, talking about Pages real quick, does he remind you of anybody?
Jay Buhner.
Okay.
Same swing, same type of power, same type of thump, same type of arm. Not necessarily the same type of body, but I think Pages probably has a better arm. But I think offensively he profiles like Jay Buhner.
Yeah. He has an absolute missile. It's pretty impressive. And we talked about this. It was one of our earlier shows, one of our first ones, when we were talking about his ground ball to fly ball ratio going from, going to 50-50 and then going back, fly balls back up. I've always said, man, don't take him away from something that's working for him. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if he does it really well, let him do it really well. I don't like to change things if they're working for somebody.
Yeah, Pages had a really good Arizona Fall League. And here's another thing that happened to him. Okay, Austin Chubb coached him in the Dominican Summer League. Then Austin Chubb coached him back when Ogden used to have the rookie team in the Pioneer League. Then Austin Chubb coached him when he was at High A Great Lakes. So for his first 3 professional seasons, he had the same manager. And for Spanish-speaking players, that's big because there's a huge comfort level. So I think when he got to Tulsa, being his first year, not being managed by Chubb, Henny is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. The Tulsa Drillers, their coaching staff is just fantastic. But getting moved all the way out to Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Okay. And not having Austin Chubb, the guy that he grew up playing with in the Dodgers organization or playing for, I think that also was an adjustment period for him that he had to overcome, of which he did very well. And I'll tell you what, I want to give credit to one guy in particular that doesn't get mentioned a lot. I interviewed him about 3 weeks ago. Jesse Guffey, the Texas League Athletic Trainer of the Year, the athletic trainer for the Tulsa Drillers, speaks Spanish. And I know Jesse Guffey was one of the big guys in Tulsa that really started making Andy Pages feel comfortable.
Smith at third base, Diego DH, rushing at the catching spot. Ooh, could you see that?
Diego DHing, is that what it says?
Yes.
Of course, then it would be a combination of all 3 of those. I can tell you this. I talked to Durno Linger tonight. Okay, I'm going to release that interview probably next week because I've got several backed up. And Durno Linger, I asked him specifically. Of course, Linger is the pitching coach at Rancho. He got to work with, being the pitching coach, you work with the catchers a lot, right? He got to work with both Diego Cartaya and Dalton Rushing both. So I asked him, tell us about those 2 players. And I can tell you, he said that Diego Cartaya, Dalton Rushing both were the 2 most prepared players that he's probably ever coached. They are better. Their intangibles as far as their work ethic and all that are even better than their talent. Their talent's off the charts. So, having said that, I don't see any way possible that Diego Cartaya doesn't end up being a catcher, at least for parts of his career. I don't see that happening. At least initially. I mean, who knows, though?
Oh, there's some talk about Ohtani from Mr. Classic. Dodgers really need to have a great season for any shot on, it says Shoes Ohtani, but I know you meant Shohei. Next season, if we lose, I don't like our chances to get Ohtani.
I'm interested what that means. If we lose, we don't get. It would seem like I'm interested what that means. Like, will Ohtani not want to come to the Dodgers? Or
I think that's what he's meaning. I think that what he's saying is Ohtani's going to want a ring, and rightfully so. You know, and I mean, he could be a key component in that. He's one of the best. I mean, I'm going to say it early. You know, he's one of the most impressive players to ever come through Major League Baseball with what he can do with what he can do at the plate.
Certainly impactful.
Yeah, and then what he can do on the mound. I mean, he's nothing. Man, he's impressive. Really like him, but don't like the Angels. So I would be okay with him being him being a Dodger. Could you please whisper in CT3 ear and let him know he swings like he's playing cricket?
Yeah. He has a lot of lift. That's why he swings and misses a lot. And I've said this for a long, long time, going all the way back to his Virginia days, when CT3 is hitting the ball up the middle. Okay, when you have lift, you know, Chase, when you have lift, okay, there's more lift at the front of your swing than there is at the back of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for CT3 to be consistent, he has to hit the ball way in the back of his swing, because if he's not, he's hitting the ball and a heavy lift part of his swing. So for that very fact, when he's hitting the ball up the middle, that forces him to let the ball get deeper, and therefore he's hitting the ball at a part of his swing that's flatter, and that's why he's more consistent when he does that. So he's not going to change the arc of his swing. He's not going to change the plane of his swing. It's not going to happen. You can't teach old dogs new tricks. I've tried that. You can't do it. So you just have to simply figure out how to get around the swing they have. So the way you do that is you force him to say, hey, Chris, we're hitting the ball up the middle. We're hitting the ball to right field, which is going to allow you to get the ball deeper. When he does that, he has the ability to be consistent. One more before we get your thoughts on that. Hey, everybody, these are fantastic thoughts. We hope that you join every single one of we're going to make more of our shows live like this. This is an amazing baseball crowd, isn't it, Chase?
Yeah, this is great. I'm enjoying every second of it. And Roy, to kind of go off, he's saying he swings like he's playing cricket. Being in the coaching industry now, man, it's a battle. Good. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way people are going now. People are leaning towards the feast or famine home run or strikeout, and I hate it. Personally, me and Casey have talked, I don't know how many times, about how much we dislike this new idea, new thought of hitting. If anybody knows Teacher Man, don't listen to the Teacher
Man. Sit on the back hip. Yeah.
Good Lord. I mean, if any of your baseball drills involve a flashlight, you know, I don't suggest doing them. I worry about Cartaya's body holding up behind the plate. DH makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
It's like that big running back in football that's not real agile. You just take so many direct hits that it wears your body down. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's already shown signs of injury too.
Hey, as far as the Urias deal, Urias, this is ARB 4 year for him, and then he's a free agent after next year. Yes.
Do you think that'll make him a challenge to get Ohtani? Ooh. I don't know. Do you think it could be a challenge to get Ohtani with Urias still here?
Next year, Urias, it would be his last year. Okay, so the challenge would be the challenge would be, how do you back up the Brinks truck to get Ohtani, and then 365 days later back up another Brinks truck to get Urias? That's going to be the tricky part of it. Fernando, thank you so much for those comments. We greatly appreciate your support. We love doing this. I'm so glad that you enjoy this show.
Appreciate your insight. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your questions.
Yeah, Soul Bro, man, you're big time, dude. You need to make sure and come on all of our live streams because you're a fantastic baseball fan.
Yeah, again, guys, we really appreciate these comments. We enjoy
Yeah.
interacting with you guys, and it's a lot more fun to interact with you guys than it is to just shoot videos. And
yeah, you already know how we think, right? I mean, we want to hear how you think.
Yeah, definitely. And when we do make videos, leave comments. You know, we'll respond too.
Another deal is, what if JD Martinez goes out and hits like 365 and hits 32 home runs? I mean, he's your DH, right? I mean, do you give up the world for Ohtani when you already have a guy that's pretty damn good?
I think the hesitation there is JD Martinez is a little older. 30, I think he'll be 36 or 37 at the end.
But that's why they put the DH in, for that guy right there, is to give him a longer career.
That's a really, really good point.
If they offload salary, which means that hopefully it's going to be Bauer. Hopefully they can get rid of Bauer before Friday. That would be the salary you hope you offload in a trade.
Yeah. Ohtani chose to sign with the Angels because he felt a bond with them. I wonder if he's going to choose more money over bond with his next team. I think it depends on who stays with the Angels. You know, and I can – it's hard to explain unless you've been in that situation. If you're in the locker room, or I mean, for example, if you work with a bunch of people that you like, it is going to be so hard to leave that behind, because if you don't enjoy being around the people that you're around 24/7, it's not going to be as fun or enjoyable. You're not going to perform as well. So that. I mean, that's a good point. I don't know. I'm sure money will have something to do with it, because he is very, very successful and he knows what he's worth.
I got one right here. Roy Estrada, I love this comment. How about in spring training, our players learn how to bunt, bury your ego, and bunt when the situation calls for it? I love that comment, i.e. runners on first and second with no outs. Get the damn runner to third base. It's called get him on, get him over, get him in, right? I love that style of baseball, man. I mean, come on, man. It's what wins in the play. It wins one-run games. It may not metrically win throughout 162 as much as you'd like, because it doesn't add up the runs like home runs do. But in one-run games, and I think you can look at the Dodgers' failure in the playoffs, right? I think you can directly relate that to one-run games, and I think they don't play situational baseball well enough. Bunting is part of that. Hey, I'll tell you what, Roy, if you go to spring training, if you don't, do it. Okay, go to Field 7 or whatever field it may be. You will find a guy named Drew Avens. He's a center fielder for the AAA Dodgers last year, Oklahoma City. Stole 40 bases, had the longest hit streak in the last 3 years in the PCL, 53 games, and he bunted his way on 2 consecutive nights on 2 different occasions to keep that streak alive. Drew Avens is the guy you'd be looking for. That dude, okay, I say that if you go find at 8 o'clock, Field 7, Drew Avens will be on that field, on a machine, bunting for 2 hours in a row every day of spring training.
Homie Buzz asked, he said, if they do offload the salary, who do the Dawgs think it'll be?
Well, like I said, hopefully it's Trevor Bauer.
Yes.
If it's not Trevor Bauer, they're going over the cap. because again, for you to win, Noah Syndergaard needs to have a good year. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
If Noah Syndergaard has a good year, he's going to hit that 1.5 bonus.
Yes.
And as soon as he does that, you're already over. Okay? Julio Urias and some of the arbitration cases are Scott Boras clients. They're probably going to put you over anyways. So I think the Dodgers are pretty well content with the fact that they're going over. Okay? I think this move to get a veteran shortstop is indication that they're back into what can we do to bolster for this coming year. So I don't think they will. If they can't get rid of Bauer's salary, I don't think you're going to dump to stay under the luxury tax. I think that's 100% completely out of the question. Would you agree with that?
I would. We had 2 back-to-back comments that say Doc doesn't like small ball.
Yeah, which is weird because he was great at stealing bases.
Yeah. I think when you have so many offensive weapons, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, simply because I know, what it's like to call a game, an offensive game.
Yeah.
It's tough when you have offensive weapons like that. You want to see what they can do with the stick. So I mean I think that's where he's coming from. I don't think that it's necessarily that he doesn't like to bunt, but I think that he likes his chances more of them just, I mean, letting him swing it, and instead
Yeah.
of maybe getting a sack bunt down, getting a single, double, whatever. Um, there's just
Yeah.
been so much offensive firepower from the Dodgers that it's hard. But I do understand the comment.
Sabermetrics will tell you that bunting scores less runs, okay? But I would tell you it scores strategic runs in one-run games, okay? And so I'll tell you why I think Dave Roberts actually likes bunting. I'll tell you why I don't think he does bunt is because I don't think the Dodgers brass, I don't think that's a philosophy that they want to embrace. And number two, I think the Dodgers flat out suck at bunting. I mean, I think every player on the team sucks at bunting. Okay, so worst case scenario is you put on a bunt, right, Chase? And then you put the bunt down and you give up the out, which is sabermetrically the most precious thing in offensive baseball is the out, right? You give up the out and then still don't move the runner. That happens when the Dodgers bunt. I mean, because they suck at it. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I hope that doesn't sound too negative. I think that's real though.
No, it's a good point. And like I said, they suck at it because they probably don't practice it because they have so many guys that can absolutely mash the baseball.
Yeah.
And I'm like I said, I'll play devil's advocate there and kind of, explain the reasoning maybe why he doesn't bunt very much. My favorite Trey Turner hit is during his entire Dodgers career was the Game 4 7th inning bunt. He laid down perfectly placed. Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I will say that when you get a perfect bunt down, there's nothing more exciting than
it's momentum.
Especially in a big game. And nothing's more exciting than a perfectly laid down bunt where your runner beats it out. I mean, it's so much fun.
It's like a slam dunk in basketball. It almost is, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, just because it's rare.
Momentum-wise, yeah.
Yeah. And then, as a pitcher, that next thing it's going to be in the back of your head. So,
Yep.
I mean, you're worried about bouncing off the mound. There's so many things that go into that. Here's a random question. One of my favorite Dodgers is Brett Butler.
Me too.
Which prospect is likely to be most likely?
Southeastern Durant. He was a Lion, baby. Yeah, did you know he went to Southeastern there in Durant?
I didn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what. I just mentioned him a minute ago. Carbon copy of Brett Butler. If you go to spring training or watch Drew Avans. I'm telling you, Drew Avans is I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Brett Butler or all that, but it's style of play. He's left-handed. He bunts. He does everything that the baseball game asks you to do. Drew Avans is your guy. If you like Brett Butler, if you like that style of player, Drew Avans, follow him in spring training. Hey, we got 3 minutes left on this. Can you hang around for one more segment, Chase?
Absolutely. I'm having a blast.
Okay. I'm going to send it here in just a second. Got it?
Good.
Okay, hang with us, guys. We're going to reconnect here in just a second. I'm going to stay on. I'm going to start a new meeting for Chase. He's going to bring it back up. Keep firing us your questions. This has been absolutely fantastic. This has been so much fun for Chase and I. And I'll tell you what, the fans that we have had tonight and the questions and the comments that we've had have been just simply phenomenal. Absolutely great baseball fans. Again, we are efforting to get Chase back on the line here in just a second. It won't take long, so let me send this link to him, and he will be on here in about 10 seconds, and we will get after it again. So, hey, again, let me get back to you guys over here. Some of the comments. Okay, it killed us in the postseason, hitting into rally-killing double plays. Absolutely. Okay, there is nothing worse than a rally-killing double play, and the best way to stay out of – there's two ways to stay out of a double play. Well, obviously, just don't hit the ball to a middle infielder. But other than that obvious fact, here's Chase right here. We're going to get him back in, and we're going to get after it. Okay, two best ways to stay out of a double play. Steal bases. I'm going to say it again. Drew Avans, the Brett Butler clone, stole 40 bases in Oklahoma City this last year. That was the third most in all of the PCL. Dave Roberts, you remember the big stolen base he had for the Boston Red Sox? The Dodgers simply put need to steal more bases. That's my opinion. Okay, you can steal bases and or you can bunt runners over to stay out of the double play.
Yes. And that goes back to laying down the bunt. Over the past
Soul
2 years,
Bro, I'm sorry, Chase. Let me get this. Soul Bro Doc was a small ball player. Why would he not like it as a manager? Because the Dodgers players that they have on roster suck at it. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Am I wrong? I
nope.
mean,
No, you're
Justin Turner sucks at bunting,
not.
right? I mean, am I wrong?
No,
Is that too hard?
No, I go back to it. The dude can hit. You know,
Cody Bellinger sucks at bunting.
Yeah, well, towards the end of his Dodgers stint, he probably should have bunted a little bit more. Because good heavens, I'm sorry.
I don't think I've
him.
ever seen Will Smith bunt. I don't know if he's good at it or not. So having said that, how many times have you actually seen the guys do it, right?
Yeah.
So if they don't do it very often, okay, are you going to ask them to do it in a game? I mean, oh, okay. Sorry, Soul Bro. My bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Over the past 2 years, Roberts has been critical of the team's plate approach at times, specifically the all-or-nothing hero ball mentality. So I think, okay.
Oh, hero ball. I love that comment. That is so true, Tamale.
Yes, absolutely.
That is so true.
You know, you deal with that at every single stinking level.
Oh. Gosh.
And it's
hero ball is the perfect way to put it, too.
It's irritating.
Oh, you're starting to light up like a Christmas tree, Chase.
Because I experienced it. I mean, hey, what was your plate approach? Oh, I was trying to get a double. Or I was trying to hit. No, dadgummit, no. It's. Go ahead.
We had a senior day 2 years ago. We actually made state tournament with this team. But okay, senior day, and there's a 3-0 count, and guy swings at a 3-0 pitch and pops it up. And I overhear him talk to his dad, and he goes, "Oh, I just missed that 3-0 pitch." Needless to say, I didn't take real kindly to that comment. I think you probably remember this story, Chase. I didn't take I probably didn't handle that situation properly. Needless to say, we didn't swing any 3-0 pitches in the upcoming regional. Qualified for the state tournament. So, yeah, no, man, that hero ball crap.
Woo. I think Soul Bro said, I think going off is a better strategy than bunting. I agree. I will say, though, in a player's defense, it's much easier said than done. It's batting it. Being at the plate in itself, being on offense in baseball is it's the hardest thing to do in any sport. Trying to get time down and all that stuff. Yeah. It's very hard, but at the same time, I'm with you. I agree on that. I mean, shortening swing. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about going oppo, the only devil's advocate I would make to that is hitting a baseball with the modern day metrics that these pitchers have on their pitches, with the horizontal movement and the horizontal fade and the right at the top of the zone and the curveballs that have the fade and tumble. Just hitting the ball, period, is hard, right? And so then trying to add a layer of difficulty, saying, okay, we're not only going to hit the ball hard, we're going to hit it in a certain direction. That adds even another layer of difficulty when you're talking about a generation of hitters that already swing and miss as much as this generation does. I think you could be running into some situations to where you're going to get a lot of difficult. That's another part of this last, picking up Rojas, is that I'm going to say it, his pull percentage, his oppo percentage, his center percentage is almost identical.
Ooh, Jason had a good comment. How overplayed were Lux's throwing issues? Rojas here to mentor Lux the shortstop. I could definitely see that being one of the reasons that they brought him in, because I do think that Gavin Lux is your shortstop. If not this year, it's definitely in the future. He's definitely going to be your guy. In terms of his throwing issues, I think there were some, but I think that they were kind of blown out of proportion. I mean, personally.
I think they're exaggerated by second base as they are to short, because, okay, hang with me, this is going to be kind of geeky, but when you field a ball at second base, your momentum's not going towards first. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, and if it is, it's like a throw that's like 11 feet, which I can tell you right now, man, the short throws, like the ones where you weren't sure if you had to throw it really hard or you just kind of had to just guide it over there, I struggled with those throws. At shortstop, Gavin Lux, we have video. Just go over and watch the Gavin Lux video. He's able to move through the ball and towards first base, and his arm is a lot stronger and a lot more natural and a lot more accurate in that motion as he's moving through the ball towards first base versus at second base, where there's either going away from first base or coming straight in at the plate. He's having to throw across his body. So I think he has a much more accurate arm from shortstop than he does second. I know that sounds counterintuitive because it's a further throw, but I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah, and kind of to bounce off of you with that, just for everybody that's watching to know, we break down film of every guy and from now on that we go over, we will break down film of every guy. So go check out the Gavin Lux video.
And if you have one you want us to break down, let us know and we'll do it on the next show. Yeah,
absolutely. We're always open to ideas and always looking for things to talk about with you guys. And we, like I said, we'd like to hear from you, whether that be in the comments on our videos that we post, or obviously on the live stream. This has been a lot of fun. I'm thinking if our players suck so bad at bunting, they'd probably be better at shortening their swing and going off though. I do see where you're coming from, Soul Bro, for sure. It's just like I said, it's hard, and I think it's even harder. We deal with high school guys and maybe in some cases some college guys and maybe some younger guys. I think it's just going to be hard for major league guys to buy into that. And I'm not saying that it won't help them, but do you understand what I'm saying? You get where I'm coming from?
I do, but
okay.
I 100% totally agree with Soul Bro on this.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge believer on get them on, get them over, get them in.
Yes.
To do that, you have to situationally hit. A large part of that is hitting behind runners. The way you hit behind runners is that you hit the ball the opposite field, right? It is I can tell you, man, you're a pitching coach. When other teams can do that, when other teams foul off 17 pitches because they shorten their swing and they just are trying to put the ball in play, as a pitcher, Chase, that is exhausting. So yeah. I am 100% total agreement. My only point with that is I agree with you, Chase. Getting college guys, major leaguers to buy into that is, when they're making $1.5 million in at bat, something like that, it's hard to do.
Yeah, and so, bro, I'm with you. Like I'm with Casey here. I'm with you 100%. I'm right behind you. I'm just speaking from a coach's perspective. It's hard to get guys to buy into that have seen success in doing what they're good at.
At our level, it's not as hard because you just say, hey, you do it or go, whatever. But when you're a professional and you're signing, 8-year contracts for however many millions of dollars, it becomes much harder. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I like Lux at shortstop. We do too, 100%. You guys
are we on Lopez?
Comments.
Well, I think we've had a pretty good show here. I think it's probably about time to wrap this up. Don't you think, Chase? Is getting past my bedtime here in
I'm with
Central
you. I
Oklahoma.
go in the morning.
I don't want to hear it from you. You're younger than I am, dude. I'm old, man. By the way, we took our 14-year-old pit bull dog to the vet the other day, and she's going to be just fine. So I'm in a good mood today.
Let's go. That's awesome. I know
nothing
how much you love her.
Yeah, nothing gets between me and that little girl. So, hey, we'll stick around. We'll kind of call this our 2-minute warning. If you got any more comments, we'd love to stick around and answer the last couple of questions. But I think we're getting ready to log off of here and say goodnight to everybody. We're going to probably every Sunday evening start a live chat just like this. We hope that everybody comes back. And what we're going to start doing, Austin, is we're going to actually start breaking down film with this live form. Okay. We're not the greatest with technology, but I think we can figure out and get that done so we can kind of talk about all at once and everybody can leave their comments on the players as we go. Does that sound good, Chase?
Absolutely.
To Motley, Roy, Austin, Soul Bro, Jason. Let's see. Let me scroll. But can I scroll back up through this? I've actually never done this before. Okay. Jay Smooth, Fernando, Homie Buzz, all of you guys. If I missed that, Frankie, James, all of you guys. Hey, we want to thank you so much. Chase, any final thoughts?
There's a couple more comments that just came in. It said with the Betts leading off, is Freddie batting second. We need a contact hitter behind Betts. and keep Freddie batting third. I would rather him hit the 3-hole and see. I mean,
You talking about Freddie?
yes, and you call me crazy. I would like to see Lux in the 2-hole.
I was gonna say that. I think if you go Betts, Lux, Freeman, as baseball coaches, you're always trying to construct the best case scenario lineup, right? May not be where you start, but I think if the Dodgers are going to reach their potential, I think that's the best. I agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then do you think the Dodgers have some other moves before the season? I think they do. I don't know what they're going to be, but they always do tend to make some kind of splash, in the free agency market, usually late. If you look when we got Mookie Betts. It happened. What was that? When was that? February?
Mookie, they got him early February.
Yeah. So there's still
same with Freeman.
Time. I like I said, I'm pumped about. I really like the young guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go after some big name that we may not even be thinking about right now.
Here's the thing, too, man. Okay, you got to give these young guys runway. Miguel Vargas, Michael Bush, James Outman. Okay, you got to give them runway. So I think the plan is give them runway. If it doesn't work out, you trade at the trade deadline, right? I mean, I think that's the game plan. You see if the rookies, if you can mix, because we talked about if you can have, say, 3 rookies, 3 guys like Will Smith, Gavin Lux, that are kind of in the middle of experience. Then you have 3 experienced guys like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy. That's the perfect case scenario. Then if the rookies don't work out, man, then you go all hog wild. You trade for somebody at the trade deadline. You set yourself up at the trade deadline. But, okay, hey, Coach Charlie, we certainly appreciate your comments. Arias is available, yes. Just keep in mind, again, if you're going to trade and do all that, you still have time all the way, July 31st, the trade deadline. So I think before you go out and make a big trade, I think you give the rookies runway, and that gives you time up until then.
Absolutely. And with that being said, guys, we appreciate you joining, leaving comments. Like you said, we're going to do this Sunday nights. Feel free to join. We love hearing from you. If you guys want to see us do a video over a certain player or a certain situation, drop that in the comments. Let us know, and we'll be sure to get that done. But till then, we'll see you.
Until then, hey, thanks for tuning in, and go Dodgers.